Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Fish and today I'm going to be talking about the Shelf Space Olympic Readathon. I am so excited for this readathon. Last December we hosted a Reindeers Games readathon, which is a Christmas themed readathon, and I was on Team Grinch. Sadly we didn't win, although there are lies being spread that Team Snow Miser won by a lot, and they did not win by a lot. And after that readathon, we were so excited to do another one that we came up with this Olympic Gods readathon, and I'm going to be one of the captains again, and I can't tell you which one just yet. You will know after June 1st. I'm so excited to do this readathon. This readathon is going to take place for a whole month, so from June 1st to June 30th. And if you're interested, go to my description. The link for the Discord will be down there, and you can go and sign up for the readathon. The hard cutoff date though is May 24th. I apologize for the late video. Been busy. But there's still a few more days if you want to sign up. A lot of people already have, and it's just so cool. Everyone's excited. There is like TBRs being built. Also, I don't have a TBR, I'm winging it. So this video is also going to be a book recommendation as well for each prompt, so stay tuned. Anyway, hard cutoff date 24th May. Go and sign up if you're interested. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go through the prompts, and I'll list about like maybe 3 books for each prompt. And not all these books are going to be sci-fi and fantasy, they're just a mix of genres, so there's more variety for everyone. Look at this wonderful graphic. This was made by our lovely mod Katrina. Okay, so our first prompt is Zeus, read a book that features a kingdom or patriarchy. Okay, for this prompt I picked 3 books. I know I said I wanted to do more variety, but sadly the selection is all fantasy based. But the first book I picked is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the first book in the Devabad trilogy, and it takes place in this Middle Eastern kind of fantasy setting. It has a patriarchy. I'm reading this right now actually, and it's pretty good. The second book I picked is City of Stairs by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the first book to the Divine Cities trilogy, I believe. And I read this actually for the January pick of Shelf Space. I was a co-host, and it takes place in this world where gods used to rule, and then the gods disappear, and now there are like 2 warring cities. But just know there's a patriarchy. And the third book I picked is Jade City. This is an adult fantasy as well, and it has a patriarchy. Please read it. This is one of my favorite series. I love it so much. The second prompt is Poseidon, read a book that has water, so like oceans, lakes, rivers, anything that has water really. The first one I would pick is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Oh my god, this book is the most wholesome book ever, and obviously it takes place in this remote island and sea surrounding it, the Cerulean Sea. It's just about this man who's a caseworker who goes to this orphanage, and he has to inspect the orphanage to see if it's up to code, if the kids are being treated right. And here he meets a bunch of kids that have very dangerous superpowers. Also kind of a found family trope, but I'm picking this for the Poseidon trope. The second book I picked is The Line Tender by Kate Allen. This is actually a middle grade. I think it's a hard-hitting middle grade that deals with grief, I believe. I haven't read this yet. So this book is about the girl and her mom, and they study sharks, and one day her mom accidentally dies in a boating accident, and she's being consumed by that grief, and she still wants to hold that connection with her mom, so she goes and research about great white sharks. So a lot of ocean involved. The third book I picked is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This does not take place on a beach. Apparently it takes place by a lake. And this is an adult romance, and it was kindly gifted to me by Abby, so thank you, Abby. The third prompt is Hades, which is read a book with the undead or ghost theme. Okay, so the first book I'd recommend is The Shining by Stephen King. This is a adult horror thriller novel. It deals with the haunting of a hotel, so this would work. The second book I'd recommend is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. All I know is that dead corpses rise from the ground, and they're called bone houses, so that also deals with the undead. And the third recommendation is House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. This is another YA fantasy horror book, mostly fantasy. And it's a 12 Dancing Princess retelling, and there are, I think, 12 sisters, duh. And one of the sisters actually sees her dead sisters as ghosts. So this also works for the prompt. The next prompt is Hestia, which is read a book with the found family trope, and this has a lot of books, let me tell you, but I will showcase you 3. Okay, so the first one that I picked is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames, and this is an adult fantasy, and as you can see, that is the found family that I'm talking about. It's hilarious, and it has a lot of reference to 80s rock. So if you're a fan of that, I think you'll be a fan of this. Next book is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this, I think, 2019, and I really liked it. I actually like her newer book better, Malibu Rising, which will work for the Poseidon trope, by the way. And this book is actually told in interview format. Basically, the band, Daisy Jones and the Six, are being interviewed because they broke up in the 60s when they're very famous, and then they just suddenly broke up, and this story is going to tell you why. And last, but certainly not least, is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Haven't read this. May read it this readathon, but we'll see. All I know is there's a ragtag group out to go on a heist. That's all I know. The next one is Hephaestus, which is read a book with fire on the cover or in the title. Alright, the first book I pick is actually a YA horror novel, and that is called Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. As you can see, there's fire there at the bottom. Not too sure what this one's about. I just know that this girl is wandering through the cornfields, and then she sees herself in the cornfield. And here the tagline says, "There can't have been another of me. I would know, wouldn't I?" So, very interesting. Next book is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. This comes highly praised by Abby, and I know this is about a library in hell, and all the books in that library are unfinished books. So the characters from those books are trying to escape to go and tell the author to finish the book, but the librarian that keeps the library controlled, she stops the characters from doing that. But one day the character actually leaves, and she has to go hunt down the character and bring him back. That's all I know about this, but I know Abby really loves it. She said the second book was not good, and to read this as a standalone because it can be. So I'm gonna take her advice on that. The next one's kind of a bit of a cheat, but still works, okay? So the next one I chose is Where Dreams Descend. As you can see, there's a teeny tiny little flame right there. It's still fire. It counts. So Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. This comes highly recommended by Jessie from The Bookish Mom. She actually also gifted me this, so thank you so much, Jessie. I love you. All I know about this book is there's a bunch of magicians and they're competing in a circus environment. That's all I know about this, but might pick this up. We'll see. Like I said, no TBR. I'm just gonna pick up whatever works. The next prompt is Dionysus, and that is read a book with a red or white cover. So for these three, the first one I picked was Plain Bad Herons by Emily M. Danforth. This is a thick book, but I'm pretty sure this is adult lit or thriller, horror, I'm not sure, because there's a murder mystery in this. All the way in 1902 there is a murder mystery, and then 100 years later the boarding school opens. All right, it takes place in a boarding school. Boarding school opens, and then they have to figure out who's doing the murders. It's because the murderers start again. Very cool. I don't know why when I picked this up I had a feeling that I would give this 5 stars. I don't know why. Alright, and the next book is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. As you can see, very white. This is an adult thriller, and I read this, I think, a year ago now, and it was really good. It takes place in an isolated island, and a murder happens, and we have to figure out who the murderer is. I highly recommend the audiobook for this. It's really good. And last but not least is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is actually the June pick for Shelf Space, and the co-host is Leslie from The Nerdy Narrative. So I really want to read this. I'm pretty sure this is definitely going to be on my TBR for that prompt because red, so this will work. And this is an adult sci-fi novel, I believe, and it's about this guy Jason who has like a whole family, wife, kids, and then he wakes up one day to find out that they're not actually real, and he's in the laboratory. So very interesting, this one. I can't wait to read this. Next is Hermes, read a book involving travel, vacation, or a quest. So the first one I chose for this is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. It takes place, I think, majority of the time in a car traveling to a destination, so this would definitely work. This is an adult thriller novel. Yeah, I think it's a thriller, and it's pretty short, and this would work for the prompt. The next book I picked is Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. This comes highly recommended by Alan from the Library of Alexandria. He would want you to read this, for sure. And this was kindly gifted to me by Charmaine, so thank you, Charmaine, for gifting me this. It's basically about this guy called Senlin, and he goes on his honeymoon with his wife in the Tower of Babel, and he loses his wife, so he spends the entire time finding his wife. A quest, if you will. And last but not least is kind of classic, and that's Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's about a hobbit and a ring and a quest. Also works for the found family trope too. The next prompt is Artemis, which is read a book with a moon or night in the title or the cover. Okay, so the first one I picked is The Night Swim by Megan Golden. This was kindly sent to me by Kristen from Read Red Wine. Thank you so much, Kristen, for my lovely Secret Santa gift. This is an adult thriller novel, and I'm pretty sure there's a podcast going on, and it's about a rape that happens, and it's all about that as well, so trigger warnings for that. And the second one that I picked is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a middle grade that I loved so much. Obviously there's moon in the title and in the cover as well, so it'll work for both. It's basically about this witch who keeps getting children from a nearby town, and because they've just abandoned the children, and she feeds them starlight. But one day she gets this girl and she accidentally feeds this girl moonlight, and this girl has powers. And the last one that I picked, I actually don't have this physically, and that is Helm of Midnight by Mariana Lostetter. This is an adult fantasy novel that I absolutely love. It is pitched as Silence of the Lambs meet Mistborn, and it's absolutely right. The magic system is like Mistborn, and the horror element is like Silence of the Lambs. It is so dang good. The next prompt is Apollo, which is read a book in a non-traditional format, verse, mixed media, graphic novel, or novella. I actually don't own any of the books that I'm about to mention physically, so I'll just mention them. So the first one is the Wayward Children series, the first one being Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. These are really, really short novellas, and it's about these kids who go through doors into different worlds, and when they come back, they're not really the same. So they go to this boarding school for wayward children. The second book is Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is told in verse, the entire book, and I really love this. This is a coming of age book, so if you haven't read this, definitely give it a try. And the third one I would recommend is the Murderbot Diaries. I haven't read this personally, but I know a few of my friends really, really love this novella series, and it's about this robot who murders people. That's all I know about it, but it's sci-fi and it's short. The next prompt is Aries, which is read a military-centered fantasy or sci-fi book. Alright, so the first one I'd recommend is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is the first book in the Poppy War trilogy, and this is very focused on war. It definitely has a lot of military strategy. Next one is Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. This also comes highly recommended by Alan from Library of Alexandria. This is the first book to the Great Codes series, and I really, really want to read this just because Alan really, really loves it. So I want to give this a try one day. Last but not least is Red Rising by P.S. Brown. This is adult sci-fi, and this takes place in like a school setting, but it's kind of like a military school, or just there's a lot of military strategy going on in this book. So highly recommend. The next one is Aphrodite, read a book with a beautiful cover. So this is very subjective, so I'm just going to pick 3 books that are beautiful to me. I have 3 books, and it has a blue theme going on. First one I picked is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This book is beautiful minus the sticker. Ignore it. Beautiful writing, I'll tell you that. I've only read the first book. I need to read the second one, so might reread this and then go ahead to the second one. The next one has to go on the list because it's beautiful, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This has also very, very beautiful writing. I really want to reread this again just because I was caught up on trying to figure out what happened and not enjoying the story as a whole, but I really, really enjoyed this a lot. And the last one is actually a YA psychological thriller, and that is None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney. This cover is very, very beautiful. So this book is about 2 teenagers who get recruited from the FBI to interview convicted juvenile killers for information on cold cases, and I thought that was super cool. The next prompt is Hera, which is read a book that features queendom or matriarchy. First one I'd recommend is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. A lot of people were asking where this book would fit, and this book actually has, like, you know, a queen ruling the UK and then also a female president ruling the US. So I definitely count this for that prompt. And the next book is The Queens of Innisleer by Tessa Gratton. Queens of Innisleer, so they rule that kingdom. Not sure what this is about, but I know I've heard a lot of good things. And the third one I picked for this is kind of gigantic, but give it a read if you can. And it is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I love this book, except the ending. It was very, very quick, but I still really like this book a lot. And this world is ruled by a queendom, so works for the prompt. The next prompt is Demeter, read a book with food on the cover. Now this was very, very hard, and I think I found 3 books that fit this prompt. Alright, the first book is the Southerns Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Hopefully that was the right title, but I'll put the picture over here. I don't own this. I haven't read this, but I know there's a peach on it, and I think it's an adult horror novel. The next book, which I actually do own, is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, and this one has a deer on it, and it's venison, I guess, or veal. I don't know which one. I don't eat either, so I have no idea, but I know you can eat deer. And this is an adult horror novel, which Leslie and Evie really loved. And the third one is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This one has a whole lot of fruits on it, so it'll definitely work for that. I'm pretty sure this is a YA contemporary novel. The next prompt is Athena, read a book with political intrigue. Okay, the first one is kind of obvious, but it is The Final Empire by, oh my god, I forgot his name. Oh no. The first book that I want to talk about is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. It's the first book to the Mistborn trilogy, so this will definitely work for political intrigue. The whole series actually is good for political intrigue, so whichever book you're on, you can definitely fit that for the prompt. And the next book is Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. This is an adult fantasy as well, and I'm not sure, but I know there's ballroom politics, still political intrigue, so I would definitely count this as well. And last but not least is A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin, and this was kindly gifted to me by Katrina, so thank you so much, Katrina. And this is a space opera, sci-fi. I'm not sure what happens, but lots of political intrigue in the whole sci-fi world. The next two prompts actually go hand in hand for my recommendation. So the first prompt, Eos, is read a book that is first in a series of duology, and the next one, and the last one, is Nyx, which is read a book that is last in a series of duology. So for these two prompts, I'll give you duology recommendations, so it'll be easier to finish that prompt and finish a series as well. There's a hack right there. Okay, the first one is this duology, the Strange the Dreamer duology. So the first one being Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, second one being Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. These will work. The next one I'd recommend is Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. There's only 2 books out so far, Rage Dragons and Fires of Vengeance, which I haven't read. So that's why I'm putting this, because I may read it. So these two will definitely count for those 2 prompts. The next one I'd recommend is The Crown of Feathers and A Heart of Flame. So Crown of Feathers is the first book in the Crown of Feathers series, and there's only 2 books out right now, and the third one actually comes out in July, I think, so it's a great time to pick these 2 up and then read the third one. So this one will definitely count for those 2 prompts. Those are all my book recommendations for each prompt. Hopefully you get some book recommendations that'll help you to fulfill those prompts. And if you have any suggestions, leave them down in the comments so people can find them. And if you're having trouble filling a prompt, let me know. I'm actually pretty good at filling out prompts, if I say so myself. Seriously, I am so excited because it is a whole month off from uni because it's semester break, so I am going to be doing some serious reading and winning this time. Remember, the cutoff date for this is the 24th of May, so head down to my description, go join the Discord, sign up. We would love to have you there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Oh my god, I forgot my outro. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!